All right, so 2005's Walk the Line is directed by James Mangold, written by Gail Dennis and James Mangold, and it's based on the book Man in Black, written by Johnny Cash himself, and Cash the Autobiography, written by Patrick Carr. And if you hear anything going on, it's raining and there's wind outside. Got a little speck of something on my shirt. Don't know what that is, but yeah, it's raining. There's wind, and if you hear any of it it honestly sounds worse than it is, but yeah, hopefully it doesn't distract anyone like it's apparently distracting me right now. But the cast here, we have Joaquin Phoenix himself as John R. Cash, Johnny Cash. We have Reese Witherspoon as June Carter, Jennifer Goodwin as Vivian Cash, Robert Patrick as Ray Cash, Dallas Roberts as Sam Phillips, Dan John Miller as Luther Perkins, Larry Bagby, hopefully I'm saying that right, as Marshall Grant. We got Shelby Lynn as Carrie Cash, Tyler Hilton as Elvis Presley. I'll speak a little more on that in a minute here. Waylon Payne as Jerry Lee Lewis. Shooter Jennings as Waylon Jennings. Sandra Ellis Lafferty as Maybelle Carter. Dan Bean as Ezra Carter. And I will go ahead and stop there. Oh, Jonathan Rice as Roy Orbison. As you can see, there's like a lot of other big names in this movie, Elvis especially being one of them. And I can't say he has a huge role in this movie. He really doesn't. But he's in a few scenes. And I don't know. It's kind of cool because I believe they were on the same record label when they first started off, which was Sun Records. So yeah, it's just cool to see the tie-ins there with the other artists that would be around in that time. I thought it was really cool. In terms of the casting, did he look like him? Not totally, but they did their best, honestly. After seeing Austin Butler and Elvis, it's hard to come anywhere close to what he did in that film, which I didn't really like the Elvis movie, but I really did love Austin Butler's performance in the film. I think he deserves an Oscar for it. So there's kind of my thoughts on that. But going into that film, I was hoping that would be maybe not the same, but at least have the same feeling as this movie, Walk the Line. Because Walk the Line, I think out of all of the musician biopics we've had so far, I think this one does it quite well. It's a little on the nose sometimes. It's based on a true story, so they probably, kind of glamorize some stuff and play around with it a little bit just to make it better for the film. There's a few moments in this film, rewatching it, and I've rewatched this movie many times, but after rewatching it this time with the new eye, kind of, I was just like, yeah, there's some things that stick out to me that seem a little too on the nose and probably didn't happen in real life. And it's just like setting up certain songs and certain relationships and stuff like that, where I was just like, yeah, that feels a little on the nose. I don't know if I buy that actually happened, and some of it kind of took me out of the movie a little bit, but not as close to Elvis. Elvis, like a lot of that movie just really took me out of it, just with how quickly paced it was, how much it didn't like focus on one thing, and it really never let you just live with him and like just does that make sense? Just kind of live in that time period, and that's the thing I love most about these kinds of movies is just the historical aspects of it. I want to feel like I'm going back in time and watching this person live, and it's hard to do that when you're just jumping from one thing to the next, which this movie somewhat has problems with, but I think it definitely slows down enough to show you, like, especially with the addiction aspects with Johnny Cash, like that's a big part of the movie, and I think that's really the heart of the film, is just seeing him, overcome his addiction. And honestly, like in those parts, I was in tears for sure, because just seeing how down and like how strung out he was and how desperate he was to, you know, take his next pill, it's hard to watch. And I think Joaquin Phoenix did such a good job, balancing, not only being this huge personality that everybody like, Johnny Cash is an icon, and it's no easy feat to play an icon, which, Austin Butler did a fantastic job doing it. And I think Rami Malek did a really great job doing it with Freddie Mercury as well. And then Taron Egerton as Elton John. While I gotta be honest, there are some parts where his voice, because I think it's Joaquin Phoenix singing, and I'm pretty sure it's Reese Witherspoon singing as well, because June Cash was a musical artist as well, and they got married and all that, but I won't go into that right now. But there were times where didn't he didn't seem too like sure of his own voice and didn't sound great, to be honest. Not to like be mean towards his singing voice, but um I don't know. At times he didn't necessarily sound like Johnny Cash, but I haven't maybe listened to enough of Johnny Cash, like his earlier performances, to actually see what his voice was like. So maybe it was very accurate, but I don't know. There were just times where I was like, I don't know, he just doesn't sound like Johnny Cash all the time. But by the end of the movie, I think he really nailed it. And also just the way he looked by the end of the movie looked exactly like Johnny Cash. And I don't know if they did like prosthetics. I would imagine they did some prosthetics. A lot of it I noticed was kind of with the hair, because the hair changes over time. And hair can honestly make people look really different depending on the way they have it. But yeah, I think they did a really good job just kind of aging him over time. And not only that, but Joaquin Phoenix like showing the mental strain that not only performing live and doing all these shows is having, but also his drug addiction and the drinking as well. Man, hats off to Joaquin Phoenix. I can't remember if he ended up winning any awards for this. I'll have to go back and check, but yeah, Reese Witherspoon as well as June Carter. I think she was amazing. Um, just seeing the relationship between her and Joaquin Phoenix, they have a lot of chemistry for sure. Um, and just seeing her, even though she kind of hates him sometimes and makes her life miserable, she still really cares about him, and she's there for him when he needs it. And like one of the scenes in this movie, and I don't really want to spoil a whole lot, but one of the scenes in this movie that really got to me is like one of the first times he was waking up without his pills. He's like rummaging around his room trying to find stuff, and he's freaking out. And then he looks out the window, and June's dad is out there just fishing, and it's just like her family is there. Like there's people with him, there's people in his corner, there's people supporting him. And it's kind of making me emotional right now just thinking about it, like, because I was just like, that's exactly what Johnny needed at that point in his life. He just needed people to be there for him, because his dad wasn't a very good dude. By the end, it kind of seemed like he turned it around a bit, but that could have just been the movie trying to be like, oh, here's a happy ending for you. But yeah, I mean, just seeing, I mean, there were a lot of things that Johnny did that were not good at all. He was not good with his first wife, Vivian Cash, played by Jennifer Goodwin. He was definitely not loyal. And while I think the movie kind of portrays her as somebody who's just like out to get him and ruin his life at times, like really it does kind of make her the villain at points in this movie, which I don't know how accurate that is. But like she gets a nice house. He buys her a nice house. They have like a nice family and stuff, and buys her all these things. And she's still like unhappy with it, but at the same time it's just because he's on the road, and she knows that there's things going on with him, probably not being faithful and stuff, and him taking drugs. So I can understand where she's coming from, but the movie definitely villainizes her quite a bit. So I don't know. I don't know if it's completely unfair or not. I wasn't there to see what happened, but that's just something I noticed. I know the first few times when I watched this, I was just like, I really don't like her. Man, she makes me so mad. She's trying to hold him back from his dreams and all his success. But looking on it now, I'm just like a little more grown up, and I'm like, yeah, I can kind of see where she's coming from. But at times she is definitely, I don't know, she can kind of get on your nerves sometimes. I won't even lie, in the movie. But nothing against the actress, just kind of what they gave her, which I don't know. I feel like it could be a little, I mean, movies like this always have things that are, you get these stories from people, and they just go with it, and they don't know for sure if the facts are right. So like, there's inaccurate historical things that happen in these movies just because they don't want to tell you the truth sometimes, I guess, just to make you like the main character more. But from a filmmaking standpoint, I can kind of understand it, but also judging her as a human is just like that seems a little unfair. But yeah, my only criticism I can't talk right now. It's kind of late. I'm sorry, guys. And also my voice hurts, but also recovering from COVID, so bear with me, people. But yeah, what was I about to say? Sorry, still kind of late. Oh yeah, only criticisms for this movie really. Um, I won't even count the whole singing thing towards it at all. Um, the only thing I will say is like they kind of villainize that one character and maybe try to change some certain events that may or may not have happened with the father and stuff, like him being, kind of nice towards the end. I don't know how much of that is true. There's always things that might not be true here. Um, but the things that really stick out are the really on the nose things. I'll just say it. There's a moment here where June is like coming back from seeing Johnny really bad, really strung out, and she's in the car in her driveway and she's just like burns, burns, burns. And I'm like, oh, Ring of Fire. She's writing Ring of Fire right now. And before, like the first few times I watched this movie, I didn't think much of it. I was just like, oh, she's writing the song. But now I'm just like, I mean, it's definitely possible that that could have happened, but it just feels a little unnatural in the moment. But it is what it is. So just some small criticisms with this movie, really. It's hard to criticize a movie that I've watched so many times and have really enjoyed. So if I had to criticize anything, it would be that. But trying to think if there's anything else I want to say. I guess in terms of things I really like, the performances in this movie are fantastic. The songs I really do enjoy for the most part. I mean, I'm not the biggest Johnny Cash fan. Also, my lights are flickering for some reason. Hopefully that's not too noticeable, but I think it might be. Um, but yeah, the performances in the movie are great. The musical performances, especially, I think were done very well. All the actors, I think, have really good chemistry with each other, especially the two main actors here, Joaquin Phoenix and Reese Witherspoon, which is it's a very important thing to have. Basically the love interests of the movie had good chemistry. But yeah, overall, I think I'm going to give this movie an 8.5 out of 10. Maybe not one of my favorite movies of all time, not in terms of like my top 10, but maybe in my like top 20 or so. I've always liked this movie. The first time I watched it, I really loved it and got super obsessed with Johnny Cash and wore a Johnny Cash shirt to school all the time and listened to his music. But yeah, looking back on it, there are some criticisms, and while it might not be like the greatest movie ever, I would still highly recommend it to people. It's a really good biopic. If you're interested in those kinds of like musical or like musician based biopics and stuff like that, I would definitely say give it a watch because it's a really great story. It's a hard story for sure to watch, and it's not too dissimilar from any other story of an artist. Like a lot of these people end up on drugs and stuff like that and get really strung out, and they have a lot of bad times. But Johnny Cash, spoiler alert for the movie, is one of those that kind of made it out of there. So yeah, I would highly recommend it. 8.5 out of 10. Walk the Line is a very great film. I have it on my Vudu. I bought it, so I don't know where you guys can watch it, honestly. Might be on Netflix, maybe Hulu, something like that. But if you can find it anywhere, or if you can rent it or buy it or do whatever you want, I highly recommend you check out Walk the Line. So that is my review. Kind of a little bit later than I meant to post it, but oh well, it is what it is. My next video should be my non-spoiler review for Jordan Peele's Nope, and then the one after that should be my spoiler review for it. As long as I think there's enough spoilers to talk about with the movie, which I'm sure there will be, but that's all I have for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one.